For decades, we've all been handed this neat, perfectly straight line when it comes to language development. You know the one. It goes from babbling, straight to first words, then two-word phrases, and boom, full sentences. It's printed in practically every parenting book out there. But what happens when a child just doesn't follow that line? Well, the immediate reaction for most of us is pure anxiety. We instantly wonder, wait, is something wrong? But take a deep breath, because new research is showing us that this single, straight line, it's actually a complete myth. Language development is far more inclusive, and it happens completely naturally when we just understand how children actually learn.
So, we really need to ask, is your child's language actually delayed, or are they simply walking a completely different path? We're honestly in the middle of a massive paradigm shift right now. As we dig into the latest research, we're discovering that there are actually two main paths to language development, not just one. And the best part, they both lead to the exact same beautiful destination, self-generated natural language.
Section 1. Redefining communication. All forms count.
Okay, before we dive into what those two paths are, we absolutely have to build a foundation of inclusivity. We have to count all forms of language as valid. Take a look at this multimodal list. Yes, spoken words are on there, obviously, but so is sign language. So are AAC devices and picture exchange systems used by neurodivergent kids all over the world. We've also got echolalia and scripting, which, by the way, are incredibly meaningful alongside everyday gestures and vocalizations. Think about this. If we only listen for spoken words, we are literally missing 40% of how children actually communicate with us. 40%! That is a huge chunk of connection we're just ignoring. When we validate all these forms, we suddenly see just how much a child is already saying.
Section 2. Path 1. Analytic language development. Let's get into the first path. This is the one you probably know best. It's heavily researched and feels the most, well, logical to adult brains. We call these kids analytic language processors, or affectionately word babies. They learn language from the bottom up, building it like a tower of blocks, and this process relies heavily on the left hemisphere of the brain.
For these analytic processors, learning happens from part to whole. Imagine a toddler in a classroom in the US or hanging out in a living room in Kerala. In stage 1, they start with a single block, a single word like ball. Then, stage 2, they stack another block on top, more ball. Stage 3 brings those simple sentences like, I want ball. And finally, stage 4 brings complex grammar. It's logical, it's easy to track on a milestone chart, and it makes perfect sense to us.
Section 3. Path 2. Gestalt language development.
But what happens when a child doesn't build their language block by block from the bottom up? Enter Path 2. This is Gestalt language development, which was beautifully detailed in Marge Blanc's Natural Language Acquisition Framework. These are our Gestalt learners, or intonation babies. Instead of building bottom up, they process language from the top down. They lean way into the right hemisphere of the brain, which is all about prosody, melody, and memory. They aren't hearing individual words. They are hearing the entire melody of a phrase as one big chunk.
Because it's top-down, the milestones look entirely different. These kids start with long, unanalyzed chunks, or gestalts, that they pick up from the people around them, from media, or from songs. So stage 1 might be a huge echolalic script. They might joyfully shout, "To infinity and beyond," with the exact same intonation from the movie. But to them, that entire phrase just means, let's play. Stage 2 is mitigated echolalia, where they start mixing and matching parts of different scripts, like, I want infinity and beyond. And stage 3, they finally start unbaking the cake, isolating single words out of those big chunks. And then in stage 4, just like the first path, they arrive at beautifully self-generated grammar.
Section 4. Comparing the two paths.
So we have two completely natural paths leading to the exact same grammatical destination, but the differences at the starting line are huge. Analytic language is highly flexible right out of the gate because it starts with single words. Gestalt language, on the other hand, starts with inflexible, rigid chunks. These chunks are incredibly rich in intonation and can actually sound super grammatically sophisticated, but because they are very specific situational scripts, adults often get utterly confused by what the child is actually trying to say.
And the absolute key takeaway here comes down to meaning. For our analytic processors, single words carry meaning from day one. But for our Gestalt processors, the whole phrase is what holds the meaning. Because these phrases sound like echolalia, like they're just mindlessly repeating a YouTube video or a song, they are tragically misjudged as meaningless. This misinterpretation left us in the dark ages for decades. I mean, professionals literally used to try to extinguish or stop this scripting. But now we know better. That script is not meaningless. That script is their language.
Section 5. Supporting natural language growth.
So once we finally understand that this echolalia is a totally natural stepping stone, we can shift to strategies that are actually actionable and honestly way more joyful. How do we do it? With 3 natural strategies. Number 1, acknowledge the script. Please don't ignore it. Smile, repeat it back to them, and make that connection. Number 2, model smaller, mixable phrases drawn from their own scripts to help gently nudge them into stage 2. And number 3, always follow the child's lead in play. We are not doing this through high-pressure drills sitting at a clinic table. We're doing this on the living room floor, in the kitchen, out at the park. We are naturally guiding them from delayed echolalia to flexible language over the course of months, wrapped entirely in connection and play.
Which really brings us to the core of all of this. When we understand both paths, we stop asking, is my child behind, and start asking, which path is my child on? Think about how powerful that is. It completely removes the panic and replaces it with genuine curiosity and support. By embracing Gestalt language processing right alongside analytic processing, we can validate every single child's unique journey. So I'll leave you with this question. How can you change the way you listen to the kids in your life today? Take a moment to really listen for the melody. You might just hear exactly what they've been trying to tell you all along.